This is a speed test between the Xiaomi 9 and the Redmi Note 7. Essentially, Xiaomi's most expensive and least expensive phone put together. Now, we all know the Xiaomi 9 is going to win, but what I'm interested in is the margin by which the Xiaomi 9 will win. The Xiaomi 9 is 3,000 RMB starting in China, and the Redmi Note 7 is 1,000 RMB in China. Is it worth the money to pay extra to get the flagship device, or can we just do with the budget option? Now we're going to do a speed test of going through apps, timing them, doing some benchmarks. But before that, let's just go through the specs of these two phones. The Xiaomi 9 has a Snapdragon 855 with an Adreno 640 GPU. It has an AMOLED screen and 3 cameras at the back. The battery is 3,300 milliamp hours. The Redmi Note 7 has about the same size screen, a 4,000 milliamp hour battery, Snapdragon 660 with the Adreno 512 GPU. It will be interesting to see how these two processors deal with the battery. We'll see how the battery's drained after the test. We can see both of these are currently at 100%. Right, let's make sure both of these phones are in the same state before we get started. You can actually see everything about these phones is exactly the same. All of the apps on the phones, even the ones I won't be using in the test, are exactly the same. They are both set up in exactly the same way. Let's just check that there are no apps running in the background and let's get underway. Obviously the Xiaomi 9 is going to win, but let's see what the margin is. Let's just see how the Redmi Note 7 does. I'm really interested because I really like the phone. But 3 GB isn't a lot of RAM for Android. Actually, when I've been using it day in, day out, it's been okay, but I definitely haven't tested it to any great extent. I've really just used the camera and not much else. So it'll be interesting to see what the difference is. Definitely the Xiaomi 9 is a little bit ahead, but not by much. Now, all the apps I'm using are Chinese apps. I live in China and obviously a lot of outside apps are blocked. I don't want to use a VPN to access anything because that will introduce some lag, possibly from the VPN not working, which will skew the results. So all the apps I'm using are Chinese mainland apps, but they all replicate everything that you would get from outside of China: Facebook, Instagram, Netflix, everything like that. And yeah, the Redmi Note 7 is just starting to lag on this one. The Xiaomi 9 still performing really well. Actually, look at the color of the white between these two phones. The white color on the screen is definitely different between them. Oh no, look at the Redmi Note 7. It is, I think it's starting to die. We're not even through, what, like 5 apps? This is Bilibili. This is the YouTube equivalent in China. And oh no, it looks like it's dying. But the Xiaomi 9 is loading PUBG, and obviously, is it downloading a skin or something? This is definitely going to skew the result. But the Redmi Note 7, oh dear, this thing looks like it has given up the ghost already. So frustrating. Now, I opened iQIYI a long time ago and it didn't open, and now it's opening when I don't want it to. Look at the Xiaomi 9. It loaded that PUBG and off we go again. Really no problems with the Xiaomi 9 on this one. Just breathing through the test. Meitu, that's a camera app here. And yeah, it's looking really good. The Redmi Note 7, oh no, it's just laggy and it doesn't know what it's doing and it's slow as anything. But the Xiaomi 9, this is going to finish the first round anytime soon. It looks really good. Now remember, the Xiaomi 9 is brand new, so this operating system isn't optimized for everything as yet. So it will definitely improve as time goes on. This is brand new, so a lot of the apps and a lot of the operating system definitely won't use everything to its full potential, but it's still doing really well. Oh no, look at this Redmi Note 7. It is just, it can't handle it. Subway Surfers, iQIYI, what is going on here? Right, let's just speed this up because this Redmi Note 7 is just not doing too well. You can see the Xiaomi 9 completed the first round. 2 minutes 41 seconds, really good result, impressed. It's just powering through, but the Redmi Note 7 hasn't even got through the first round of Subway Surfer, and the Xiaomi 9 has already completed the second round of it. Let's just fast forward to the end. Look, 4 minutes 16 for the Xiaomi 9, but the Redmi Note 7, oh, so frustrating. I literally just cannot complete the test. It's just crashed. Oh no, just just so frustrating. This thing was an absolute failure. I abandoned the test after the first round. I just retired it. It wasn't doing well. It was so frustrating. Now, the Xiaomi 9 performed really well. It was quick. It didn't stutter. Even on the second round, it did really well. There were a few apps that were still open. The bigger apps, the games and things, had to reload a little bit. This even took a lot of time on the first round because when I opened PUBG, I think it had to load something. Even with that said, this performed really well. The Xiaomi 9 was a good performer. This Redmi Note 7 was a disaster. Now, what does that tell us? It shows us that even though this is starting at a really good price, 1,000 RMB is about 150 US dollars. This is the 3GB version, and the 3GB version is just not enough RAM to operate Android in any sort of way. Now, I admit that this sort of test is not the same as anyone would really use the phone in real life. You're not going to open a million apps all at once without shutting them down or without closing other apps, but it just gives us a very real insight into just how these things perform. You are going to want to use a few apps at a time, and this thing was a disaster straight from the very first one. I think we got to Weibo and that was it. It just started stuttering and it was a complete disaster. However, if you manage the phone well, it's definitely not going to be as bad. Essentially with this one, you have to open one app at a time and use it like that. Maybe 2 apps. But if you're gaming and you want to come out of your game and message your friend and then you want to take a photo, it's going to struggle. 3GB of RAM for that low price is just not enough. You have to spend more money and go with at least the 4GB version. But then the phone becomes more expensive and maybe you should look at other phones instead. Anyway, with that said, let's cancel out of all of those apps and just run some benchmarks. Now, this probably proves that benchmarks are completely irrelevant. Let's just do Antutu and Geekbench. You guys don't want to see the actual test happening, so let's fast forward to the end. 133,000 on the Redmi Note 7, 158,000 on the Xiaomi 9. Look at the temperatures on these. It was really hot in the room, by the way, so that may just make the processor clock down a little bit. 92, 93 on the Xiaomi 9, 93, 94 on the Redmi Note 7. Let's just do a boot up test. 3, 2, 1, go. Now, which one is going to boot up faster? Not really a test that means anything. You're not going to keep turning your phone on and off. You're just going to have it on. It won't take up too much time anyway. Let's just see which one comes out on top here. It doesn't really affect the way you use the phone. I would expect them both to turn on. Right, so the Xiaomi 9 has finished booting up already. And are we going to wait long for the Redmi Note 7? There it is. Let's do an unlocking test on this one. Both have fingerprints. 3, 2, 1, go. About the same time, actually. Not too bad on that one. Let's go again. 3, 2, 1, go. Xiaomi 9 beat the Redmi Note 7 there. It's quite hard to press it on the back of the Redmi Note 7. 3, 2, 1, go. Redmi Note 7 first on that one. I think they unlock around about the same time, but it's just difficult to find this fingerprint sensor on the back here. It doesn't stand out very well, and there's no sort of edge or anything, and you just can't really get it. It's very frustrating, whereas on here, you know exactly where it is, and it just opens up really quickly. It's much more convenient on the Xiaomi 9. So what I would say is that if you use your phone for anything more than just messaging your friends on WhatsApp and using some Instagram, you are gonna want to go for something like the Xiaomi 9, something a little bit more high powered. I really do still like the Redmi Note 7 for what it is. The camera is good, the screen is good, the battery is good. They both have 88, this one has 88% left, this one has 87% left. So in terms of battery usage and power and capacity, they are actually about the same. The Redmi Note 7 is a good phone for taking photos, but oh man, it is slow compared to the Xiaomi 9. It's actually very interesting to see the absolute gulf in capability between the budget end of the line phone and the top flagship phone from the same company.